How y'all doing? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to get ready to start video number 4 in our See Open Craftsman Truck Setup Series, or training series anyway. So in our setup checklist that we're working on, we'll be on tab number 4, front ARB, and we're going to be going through and tuning the front anti-roll bar to try to get the best performance out of it. And from what I've heard from a few people, the best, or the new truck model seems to like a soft anti-roll bar. But when I was doing the testing with it here, as you can see from the results, as I started going lower on, I started off with a 2.5 inch diameter roll bar, which is, or anti-roll bar, which is the largest roll bar you can put in the thing, stiffest one rather anyway. And as I started progressively going down to a 2 3/8 bar, down to 2 1/4, then finally a 2-inch bar, I noticed that the lap times, as I went smaller with the bar, although the truck seemed to have a little more grip in the corner than it did with the larger bar, the lap times were starting to show that as I went lower with the bar, the truck was starting to slow down more. So we started off with a 58.5, and then we went to the 2 3/8 bar, and we dropped down to a 58.2. So in that case, it actually got a little quicker. But when we went to the 2 1/4 bar, we went from a 58.2 to a 58.7. So we lost almost a half a second just with that change alone. And then when we finally went to the 2-inch bar, we went from a 58.7 to a 59.02, so it slowed down by around 3/10 of a second, just going from 2 1/4 to 2 inches. So, in my opinion, I think the 2.5 inch bar is, or probably the 2 3/8 inch bar is probably going to be the best bet as far as the anti-roll bar to run in this thing. And also, as I was adjusting the roll bar, I was keeping track of the roll center measurement in Motec, and I kept noticing as I was getting softer with the bar, with your roll center you want that number to be as low as possible, or as close to 0 as you can get it. And unfortunately, we started off at 0.52, and then as we dropped to the next lower bar, it went down to 0.34, so it was going in the right direction. But when we went down to the 2 1/4 inch bar, it started creeping back up again, so it got back up to a 0.53, which is just 0.01 below where we started from. And then when we went down to the 2-inch bar, it increased even more, so it went up to a 0.54. So in my opinion, going with a softer bar, granted it makes it feel a little better in the corner, but it doesn't really show any performance increase that I can see from testing so far. And what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to trying to get our roll center figured out a little bit better, and try to get our anti-roll bar actually to be parallel instead of sitting at an angle. So I'm going to pull up Motec real quick, and I'm going to show you kind of the telemetry I taken as I was doing these runs. So the very first run I did, looking at my front ride heights, this is my front splitter, the green line, and that would be the dead center of the front splitter. The blue line is the left side of the splitter, and then the red line down here is the right side of the splitter. And then these two lines down here, the blue line and the red line, are the front ride heights of the truck as measured at the frame rail. And as you can see, these lines, two lines here, this blue and red line, if all is perfect, is all the way we need it to be, these should basically be overlapping each other, or kind of riding on top of each other. Unfortunately, the blue one is way higher than the red one, which is why our roll center is showing 0.54 instead of being closer to 0 like I want to see it, which means that my roll center is off. And then also by looking at that trace for the splitter on the left hand side, it is significantly higher than the right hand side by about almost a 1/10 of an inch. So to fix that, we're going to go in and we're going to play with arm asymmetry. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize this for the moment. Minimize our checklist, and I'm going to go up here to the setup, go to the chassis, and I'm going to come down here to the arm asymmetry. Right now it's set to minimum. I'm going to take it up to a 3 and just to see what happens with it. So I'm going to go ahead and go into my Motec telemetry folder, since we're getting ready to work with something different where we're going to be controlling the size or the left side of the splitter. You know, hell with it, I'll just leave the telemetry files in there. I won't delete them this time. But normally I would go through and I'd delete my telemetry files just so I make sure I don't get nothing mixed up. So what I'm going to do now is I've gone ahead and gotten the adjustment made in Motec, or not Motec, but in iRacing in the garage. I dropped the arm asymmetry down to 3, applied it. We still have no preload, which is what we want to see for the moment, and none of our rest of our front suspension settings changed, so we still have the correct caster in the right front, in the left front. Our camber is still correct. Our ride heights are still showing pretty good yet, both in the front and the rear, and everything in the back is looking good, including our truck arm preload, which we want this to basically be as close to 0 as possible without being negative. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go out and I'm going to run about 3 laps, 4 laps maybe, just to get some telemetry data here so I can see what the left side of that splitter is doing and see if I can get that thing to come down a little bit closer to the track. Our goal is to get it down as close to the track as we can get it without actually having it smack into the track. So I'm going to put you guys on a brief pause and I'll be back in just a couple of moments. Alright, we're back after doing a couple laps here. I'm going to go back into Motec and I'm going to close out my existing, actually I'm going to leave that one open. I'm just going to open a new one on top of it, which should be the very top one here. And I want to see exactly what's happening with that left front splitter, see if it comes down. Right now it's at a 0.22. It's now down to a 0.18, so that means it dropped down a little bit for us, so it moved in the right direction. But we've got a little further for it to go before it's going to be perfect. So let's go out and drop that, or adjust that arm asymmetry, and we went to a 3. So let's go up here and mark that. So we were at the minimum, when now we are at 3. And all we're doing is just adjusting the right to try to get it in the right position. So lap times at this point don't really make all that much difference. Let's go back in and check our roll center real quick while we're here. And our roll center is still way too high. Unfortunately, it's still at 0.052. So let's go back in here and mark that. And right now that's not a big deal because we can fix that with adjusting our anti-roll bar preload. So go ahead and put this at 0.52. Since it moved towards 0.52 from 0.54, it means it moved in the correct direction. It just didn't move far enough, but we will be taking care of that here shortly. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize this, go back to the garage. Maybe. And then we're going to drop that arm asymmetry down from 3. We're going to go up from 3 to 4 just to see what direction that thing moves. Make sure everybody's still happy. And everybody looks to be happy, so let's go ahead and go out, and I'm going to turn 2 more laps and then I'll be back. So I'm going to put you on a brief pause and we'll see you in just a second. Alright, I'm back after running a couple of laps here, and I want to go in and I'm going to pull up my latest telemetry file, which should be the very top one. I'll go ahead and open that up, and we come down. We actually went up a little bit that time. We were at, let's see, where was it here? When that one might be this one, 22. Yeah, there it is. So it looks like we went up a little bit. So basically our arm symmetry needs, we were going the right direction the first time, but we had it at minimum. So I don't know if we can get that to come up anymore or not. We'll see what we can do with it here. We'll go back into the garage. look at our preload here real quick while we're in here. And it's at 0.54, so it went back up again a little bit on the preload, or on the roll center rather. 0.54. So we're going to go into our arm symmetry in iRacing. Go to our garage, go to our chassis, sway bar. We started off at minimum, then we went to 3, so let's drop it down to a 2 and see what we got. So I'm going to set that, make sure nothing changed, everything, camber looks good, caster looks good, toe looks good, and our rear preload is actually perfect right now. No, it isn't either. I was looking at the wrong preload. We got to look at the truck arm preload, and that's good. That's good. I can live with that. So let's go ahead and apply this. I'm going to go out and buzz 2 more laps, put you on a brief pause, and then I'll be back, and we'll take a look and see what that left front splitter is doing. All right, we're back after me going out and running a couple more laps here to get some telemetry data. I'm going to go ahead and open up the new log file for Motec that we just took, and we're at a 0.022. We're down to a 0.021, and that looks like that's probably about as low as we're going to get the left side of the thing to go using arm asymmetry, because we basically got it pretty much to the bottom now. We can go out and maybe try doing the minimum on the arm symmetry, but I don't think it's going to get us any closer, but we can certainly try it. So let's take this from a 2 down to none, and we'll go out, and there it threw some preload in it for the first time, which is cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to unattach the bar, click OK, and then we're going to zero out this link slack. Apply it, reattach our bar, and now we're going to go out and take a couple more laps. When you guys are out there running your laps to taking telemetry for, especially for ride height stuff, you want to make absolutely certain you run a perfectly clean lap. You don't want to hit the wall, hit the apron, drive off onto the grass, or anything along those lines, because that will skew your telemetry data, and when you open it up in Motec to read the ride height data, it won't be correct. It'll be off. So I'm going to go out here real quick, put you on a brief pause, and we'll be back in 2 laps. Alright, I'm back after doing a couple more laps, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up my latest Motec log, and we are 0.21, and we dropped to 0.14, so we've actually got down to about probably as low as this thing's going to get in the front end, which is fine. We can actually fine-tune that further using preload on our sway bar. This arm asymmetry adjustment technically is still an a roll bar adjustment, but we're actually starting to kind of tread the fine line between a roll bar and aero now. So since we are affecting the height of the front splitter, so I will probably touch more on that when we get into the aero video here shortly. But basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to limit what arm asymmetry does is it limits how far to the left the body of the truck can roll as you're going through the corner. Where the arm thickness controls how far it can roll to the right. So basically you use your arm asymmetry to control left side roll, where you use the arm thickness to control right side roll. And our goal, like I said, is to try to get these 2 lines down here that are by my mouse right now, try to get these red and blue lines to effectively overlap each other, or get as close to it as we possibly can. And the goal is also to try to get these pink and blue lines down here to do the same thing, get them to basically overlap. If we can get red and blue lines, which is the front ride heights, to do that. The rear ride heights, which are down here, should do the same thing. They should basically mirror what the front end is doing. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and minimize Motec for the moment because we're done with it for right now. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to start working with trying to get my roll center set right. So I'm going to go in here to the garage and I'm going to start to put some preload into this thing. See if I can get that those front ride heights on the front end to be as close to the same as possible and level out that front end. So I'm going to probably start off, I'll take it up to about there to start with just to see what we get. Click done. Then we're going to go into, I'll put you on a brief pause. I'm going to go out, take another lap or two, and then we'll come back and take a look at our ride heights and see what they're doing in the front end. Alright, we are now back after I run a couple of laps here. We're going to go back into Motec here. Open the latest log file. It's right here. And it looks like our roll center is coming up a little better than it was. These lines are getting closer to being intersecting compared to what they were originally. And I've got another, looks like I got a rogue file here that, yep. So these two actually look like we're moving in the correct direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this out. I'm going to delete my current telemetry files, just so that I ain't getting confused and opening the wrong one as we go. Go ahead and close that out, minimize Motec for the moment. Then we're going to go back into our garage and we're going to bump that preload up a little higher. We'll try negative 36 foot-pounds. And keep in mind, this preload will change ride heights and other things on the truck. So you want to make sure that you go through and check to make sure everything is still passing tech and all your adjustments are where you want them to be. Like for instance, my camber just changed on me. I want to put that back to 2.0, which is where I had it. My caster changed, so put that back where it was supposed to be. The front one, or the right front caster is all right, and our toe is still okay. Our truck arm preload is now too high, so we got to drop that back down as close to zero without being negative as we can. And it looks like right there. Go up here and just make sure everybody's still fairly happy, and it looks like everybody's happy with where they're at. So let's go out. I'm going to run a couple more laps and then I'll put you on a brief pause while I do that, and we'll come back in and take a look to see what our front ride heights look like. Alright, I'm back after doing a couple more laps. We're going back into Motec and take a look and see where everything is sitting. Now we're getting a lot closer to where we want to be here. And for now, I think I'm just going to leave that where it's at. We'll fine-tune this when we start getting into working on finalizing our arrow, which will be a video or so from now, because I kind of want to leave this basically where it's at, so that because when I start going through and adjusting cross weight to get the tire wear balanced out, all of this stuff will change. It will not be where it's at now. And also when we start working with our arrow and getting the ride heights dialed in to get our splitter sealed off and get our side skirts sealed off, this will also be all different and everything. So, but basically I just want to make sure we can get the thing going in the direction we want it to be going, or needing to be going eventually. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump in here real quick to see exactly what I got my front sway bar preload set to. And I'm going to note it on my sheet here under preload. And it looks like we're at negative 35.8 pounds. So we're going to come over here. We'll come down to the fresh line. Negative 35.8. And we're just putting this in right now so that when we get ready to come back and do the final adjustment on our preload and our roll center and everything like that, when we're doing our arrow later, we have kind of an idea where we want to start at to try to get the front ride heights where we need them to be. This is just kind of for reference right now. This is not going to be our final number. This is kind of going to be our starting point when we get to that point. So I'm going to go ahead and do a quick save on this for the moment. And just keep it where I'm building my setup at and saving my setup. Okay, so now that I've got that basically done for now, I'm going to come back into Motec here real quick and find out what my actual roll center is, and we're at 0.66. We want to get that as low as we can, and we will get it down a little bit lower. Here a little bit ago it was up in the 0.70s, I think, if I remember right. So we're going to go over here. It's not quite as good as, whoops, this thing, I hate when it does that. And it's because I've got a negative sign on that, so I need to fix that real quick. I need to turn that into a text format piece so that they don't try doing math on it. There, now I can click over here and put in my roll center, which is going to be 0.66. But our goal is to get this roll center number as low as possible, or as close to 0 as we can get it, preferably. And we will be doing that during the part where we're actually setting our arrow and getting our final and getting our cross weight and everything all set. But before that, we got to adjust our nose weight, cross weight, and all that kind of stuff. So we will be coming back to this part of it here in a couple videos from now. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and again save everything that we've got. So I'm going to save our spreadsheet, or our checklist. Go ahead and save that. And close it out because we're done with it for now. And then I'm going to come to my setup, and I'm going to save my setup as race 4, which is the tab we're working on in our checklist. And we're going to name it as sway bar, or anti-roll bar, or whatever you want to call it, or whatever you decide to call it. Some people call it some people call it an anti-roll bar, some call them sway bars. So I'll save it as ARB and go ahead and click save on that. That will save our setup as it currently is. And then we can come back to it on the next video and we can start working on, I believe it will be nose weight, I think. Let me double check and make sure, because I don't have the best memory anymore. It's hell to get old. So we'll come down to Pocono. We open the checklist here and see what our next video is going to be. And it looks like it's going to be a nose weight's the next one we're going to work with. And that is a critical adjustment and one a lot of people mess up. So stay tuned for that one, because that one's got some meat and potatoes in it for you. And we'll see you guys all in the next one. Take care. And if you like this video, remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.